Hey folks, Pastor John here. I got a wonderful question today from one of our Conquering Couples listeners, someone who watched our video and had a question about it. The question is, if we are to accept and embrace our spouse, if one is to accept and embrace one's spouse, I said in our last Conquering Couples that we don't necessarily need to understand them and that we should spend more time accepting and embracing them, celebrating them, than we do trying to understand them. When I say that, what I'm saying is that often we will look at someone else and try to make their world make sense in our world. In other words, you've heard people say, I don't understand why she would do that. Like, why would anyone do that? See, they are processing the other person's actions through the filter of their own life and their own decisions. The truth is, I wouldn't do that. And I can't think of a reason why I would do that. But I'm now projecting that on the whole world around me to say, I can't think of any reason why anyone would do that. And it's when we project it from ourselves onto the world around us that we are engaged in a subtle form of judgment, where we are holding ourselves up as a measure, as a ruler, and we are saying, here's my ruler, okay? And so I'm sitting here measuring and I'm saying, I would do this, but they did this, and I don't understand why they do this. The truth is, I don't have their eyes. I don't have their experience. I don't have their upbringing. I don't have their values. I don't have their worldview. I don't have their particular perspective. I was not in that situation with all of those things that they had that shape and form who they are. And therefore, when I look over, it's possible that my spouse will never make sense to me. As long as I'm evaluating them and trying to determine whether or not what they've done makes sense, then that's an unhealthy place. If I am striving to understand them, meaning I'm striving to understand who they are, how they see the world, how they process things, what their values are, what is most deeply held by them, the things that are most precious to them. Now I'm not seeking to understand them to determine whether or not what they're doing is logical, makes sense, is reasonable in my world. Would I do that? And that's what a lot of people do. Often when we look at someone else, we say their behavior is reasonable if it's behavior that we would take, if it's actions we would take or behavior that we would have. And if it's not behavior that we would have, then we say, well, that doesn't make any sense at all. Well, it may not make sense to you, but it may make perfect sense to them. You would have to have their mind, their heart, their soul, their experiences, their upbringing, their culture, their values, their ideals, their worldview, their perspective in order to process it in a way that it does make sense. So the question is, can you embrace and accept and celebrate your spouse without understanding them? If you approach understanding from the standpoint of trying to make sense of what they're doing so that their action, their thought, their words line up with your view of the world, then that's unhealthy and that's judgment and that's you evaluating your spouse. But if out of a pure heart, you desire to understand your spouse so that you can better support them, so that you can better embrace them, you just want to know why they did what they did and how they see the world and what's most important to them, then that's different than trying to determine if what they did was rational or made sense or was a good idea. There's a big difference between evaluating and accepting and understanding can funnel into either direction. It can funnel toward evaluating, which ultimately leads to criticism or approval, one or the other. Either I say I disapprove, or, oh yeah, I would do the same thing, therefore it's legitimate, and it becomes legitimate because I would do the same thing. So I become the ruler and I'm measuring them against my own standard. Or there's understanding that leads to acceptance. I saw you pop all the balloons and I just wanted to know what was going on. And now that you've told me that when you were 5, you were at a party and there were balloons that a clown was holding and he was chasing you with the balloons. And so ever since then, you've had nightmares about balloons. And whenever you see them, that you have to pop them. I get it now. I get it, and it'll help me support you. One, the next time I'm around and I see some balloons, I may get them out of there before they inflict trauma on you. I certainly won't order any balloons for your birthday. And if I see you popping balloons, I understand why. I won't criticize. I just embrace that that's something that's important to you. So I hope that helps to answer the question and how one can embrace one's spouse without evaluating or judging one's spouse. God bless you guys. Love you. Keep conquering, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.